Listen up everybody because it's that time of year again. The madness is upon us, the time for busted brackets, Cinderella stories, and enough buzzer beaters to make your head spin. That's right, we're talking March Madness, baby. And let me tell you something, this year is gonna be off the charts. Now, you know I'm all about giving you the straight facts, no sugarcoating here. We're gonna dive deep into the bracket, expose those hidden gems, and separate the contenders from the pretenders. I'm talking about the kind of analysis that'll have you looking like a genius in your office pool. So, whether you're a seasoned vet or a March Madness rookie, get ready for a wild ride. We're talking upsets, controversies, and everything in between. This is March Madness 2025, and we're breaking it down right here. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. The conspiracy theory that's been swirling around March Madness since, well, forever. Is the bracket rigged? Now, I'm not saying it is, but I'm not saying it isn't. Look, we've all seen those head-scratching calls, those last-second shots that seem almost too good to be true. And let's not forget about those Cinderella runs, those unknown teams that come out of nowhere and shake up the entire tournament. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen a 15-seed knock off a 2-seed? It's enough to make you wonder if the powers that be are pulling the strings behind the scenes. Now, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but you gotta admit, there's something fishy going on here. I mean, is it just coincidence that these upsets always seem to happen when the ratings are highest? And let's talk about those officiating crews. I'm just saying, some of those calls are questionable at best. It's enough to make you think that maybe, just maybe, there's more to this tournament than meets the eye. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think? Is March Madness rigged? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's get this debate started. Because at the end of the day, whether it's rigged or not, March Madness is still the most exciting 2 weeks in sports. The upsets, the buzzer beaters, the Cinderella stories, it's what keeps us coming back for more year after year. Now let's get down to business. You're here because you want to win your bracket pool, right? Well, let me tell you something. Most people sabotage their own chances before the first round even ends. And you know why? Because they make the same 3 boneheaded mistakes year after year. Mistake number 1, overrating the big conferences. Look, I get it. The ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, they're all stacked with talent. But guess what? March Madness is a different animal. Those mid-major teams, those Cinderella stories, they're hungry. They've got nothing to lose, and they're coming for your bracket. So, don't be afraid to pick against the big dogs, especially in the early rounds. Mistake number 2, ignoring the defense. Offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And that's especially true in March Madness, where every possession matters. So, before you go penciling in that high-scoring team for a deep run, take a look at their defensive efficiency. You might be surprised at what you find. And finally, mistake number 3, chasing upsets. Look, we all love a good Cinderella story, but don't get carried away. Picking upsets is like playing the lottery. You might get lucky once or twice, but eventually your luck's gonna run out. So, don't go crazy trying to predict every upset. Stick to the fundamentals, trust your gut, and don't be afraid to pick against the grain. Chapter 3. Now let's talk about those Cinderella teams, those underdogs that are gonna make some noise in this year's tournament. First up, we got the Drake Bulldogs. This team is led by a senior point guard who's as cool as a cucumber under pressure. They play stifling defense, they can score in bunches, and they're not afraid of anyone. Next, we got the Vermont Catamounts. This team is battle-tested, they play in a tough conference, and they've got a knack for pulling off upsets. They're a popular pick for a Cinderella run, and for good reason. And let's not forget about the Colgate Raiders. This team can flat-out shoot the ball. They lead the nation in three-point percentage, and they're not afraid to let it fly from anywhere on the court. Now, I'm not saying these teams are going to win it all, but I am saying they're going to be a problem for some of those high-seeded teams. So if you're looking for a few sleepers to round out your bracket, these are your guys. Chapter 4. Now before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a trip down memory lane and relive some of the most shocking March Madness moments of all time. Remember when UMBC pulled off the unthinkable and became the first 16 seed to ever beat a 1 seed? I'm talking about the Retrievers taking down the mighty Virginia Cavaliers. Or how about when Loyola Chicago, led by Sister Jean, went on that magical Final Four run? That was something special, man. And who could forget about Duke's stunning loss to Lehigh in 2012? That was a heartbreaker for Coach K and the Blue Devils. But it just goes to show you, anything can happen in March Madness. These moments remind us why we love this tournament so much. It's unpredictable, it's exciting, and it's full of surprises. Chapter 5. Alright folks, we've covered a lot of ground today, but it all comes down to this. Who's gonna cut down the nets in 2025? Now, I'm not gonna give you my picks. That's what the comments section is for. I wanna hear from you. Who are you riding with this year? Who's gonna be this year's Cinderella story? But before you lock in those brackets, remember what we talked about. Don't be afraid to pick against the grain, don't sleep on those mid-major teams, and most importantly, trust your gut. March Madness is a marathon, not a sprint. So pace yourself, enjoy the ride, and let's make this the most unforgettable tournament yet. This year's tournament is going to be crazy. Who's your pick to win it all? Drop your final four in the comments, and if you want to dominate your bracket, hit subscribe for more expert predictions.